Hello everyone, hope you had a great weekend. Today we're going to work on our review of rational numbers. So we've broken it down into adding and subtracting, integers, decimals, and fractions, and then multiplying and dividing all of those as well. So we're going to start with adding and subtracting decimals. So when you add and subtract decimals, you need to line up the decimals. So we're going to do an example of 93 plus 0.021 plus 1.1. Okay, so we need to line up the decimals when we're adding and subtracting. The first thing is I see a decimal here and I see one here, but I don't see one on the first number. So remember that if there's not a decimal there, it's invisible. And it's at the end of the number, like the period at the end of this sentence. So I would have 93.000. I'd have 0.021. And I would have 1.1. And then you just fill in zeros to help line up your numbers. So 1 plus 0 and 0 is 1, 2, 1, 3 plus 1 is 4, and 9 plus 0 is 9. So it comes out to 94.121. All right, so the next thing we need to talk about is adding and subtracting fractions. So to add and subtract fractions, you need to find a common denominator. And once you have a common denominator, you're going to add the numerators, which are the numbers on top, and keep the denominator. Okay, so for example, if we have 1/3 plus 3/4. All right, so I know that 3 and 4, so you want to think about their least common multiple. So that means for 3, 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times 3 is 6, 3 times 3 is 9, 3 times 4 is 12, 15, 18. And then 4 times 1 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 4 times 3 is 12, 16, 20, and you want to find the smallest number that both of them can become, okay? So I know that my denominator is going to be 12, all right? And I'm going to say, okay, 3 times what gets me 12? So 3 times 4, and what you do to the bottom, you do to the top. So 1 times 4 is 4, 3 times 4 is 12. Then I'm going to do the same process to the second fraction. So 4 times 3 is 12, so 3 times 3 gives me a numerator of 9. So now I have it rewritten with my common denominator, so 4 over 12 plus 9 over 12. So 9 plus 4 is 13, and I keep my denominator. Now in this case, my numerator is larger than my denominator, so it's an improper fraction. So I'm going to do top in, bottom out. I'm going to divide it so I can get it as a mixed number. So 12 goes into 13 one time, so I'm going to do 12 and I'm going to subtract. And then since the decimal is here, I'm going to stop. So the number on top is my whole number, so 1. The number that remains at the bottom is my numerator, and then my denominator is the same as before, the number I divided by. So my answer is 13/12 or 1 and 1/12. Okay, next situation is adding and subtracting integers. So always, if it's subtraction, you're going to change it to addition. And if it's addition, you're going to keep it as addition. So change to addition. And you can do that either by drawing two lines or doing the boom boom. Okay. Once it's addition, then there's two different ways. Okay. So we're looking at the signs. Either they have the same sign and you're going to add and keep, or the two numbers have a different sign and you're going to subtract and keep the sign of the biggest number. So remember, with adding and subtracting integers, we sing our song, right? The row, row of your boat song. Same sign, add and keep, different sign, subtract. Keep the sign of the biggest one, then you'll be exact. All right, so let's do a couple examples. 1 minus 6. So if you do 1 minus 6, you can't do that because the second number is bigger. So you have to do the boom boom, right? So we're going to add the opposite. Okay. So 1 and negative 6. So positive and negative, those are different signs. So that means I'm going to subtract. So 6 minus 1 is 5. I'm going to keep this sign of the bigger number, the bigger absolute value. So since 6 is larger than 1, it's going to be negative 5. Another example, let's say I have negative 11 minus 4. Okay, well, you can't subtract with negatives, so again, you have to add the opposite, so the boom boom. Now look at their sign. I have a negative and a negative, so same sign, add and keep. So 11 plus 4 is 15. I'm going to keep my negative, okay? All right. The next one is multiplying decimals. So when you multiply decimals, you're actually going to multiply normally, okay? And once you find your answer, you're going to count the number of decimals in the problem. Count the number of decimals in the problem. And then you're going to move the same number of places to the left in our answer. I'm going to do an example to remind you. So let's say we have 7.5 times 0.08. Okay, so 7.5 times 0.08. Notice I'm not lining my decimal up. I don't have to do that when I multiply. 8 times 5 is 40. 7 times 8 is 56. 60. I don't need to multiply by 0. I have 1, 2, 3 numbers to the right in my problem, so I'm going to start here. I'm going to go to the left. 1, 2, 3 numbers to the right in my answer. So my answer is 0.6. Okay. All right. So next one is multiplying fractions. So when you multiply fractions, you're going to multiply across the top and then across the bottom. Okay, and when you're multiplying fractions, know that you always have to use Texas. So use Texas to make improper fractions first. Okay, so you can't multiply mixed numbers, we're going to make them improper fractions. And always, once you multiply, you're going to simplify. All right, so let's look at an example. Let's say we have 2 over 7 times 7 over 5, okay? So 2 times 7 is 14. 7 times 5 is 35. So I multiplied across, but then I need to simplify. I know that both of these are divisible by 7. So I get 14 divided by 7 is 2. 35 divided by 7 is 5. Okay? Also, let's say, what if I have 1 and 1/8 times 1/2? Okay? So like I said before, you cannot multiply with mixed numbers. So we have to use Texas, so TX, to change it to an improper fraction. 1 times 8 is 8. 8 plus 1 is 9 over 8 times 1/2. So 1 times 9 is 9. 2 times 8 is 16. So I have 9 over 16. Okay, so the next one we have is dividing decimals. So when we divide decimals, you're going to move the decimal to the right on the outside. So on the outside number, then, darn it, this always happens, huh? Okay, so then you're going to move the decimal the same number to the right on the inside, and then you're going to raise it to the roof. Okay, so for example, let's say we have 32 divided by 0.4. Okay, so always the first number goes on the inside, so first in, last out, or top in, bottom out, either way, divided by 0.4. Okay, so you're going to move your decimal here until it's a whole number, and since I moved it one place on the outside, I'm going to move it one place on the inside, plug in a 0, raise it to the top. So 4 times 8 is 32. Gonna put a 0, so is my answer 8? No, I have to fill in zeros until I get to the decimal, so my answer is 80. Okay? All right, let's keep going. Dividing fractions. So to divide fractions, you're going to do KCF, right? So you're going to keep, change, flip. And again, this is a situation where you have to change mixed numbers to improper fractions first. All right, so for example, let's say I have 5.5 divided by 1/4. Okay, so first I'm going to change it to improper fraction. So 2 times 5 is 10. 10 plus 1 is 11 over 2 divided by 1/4. So always I rewrite that first before I keep, change, flip. 4 times 11 is 44 over 1 times 2 is 2. And then 44 divided by 2 is 22. Okay. All right. Next one, it has multiplying and dividing integers. So you're going to use your tic-tac-toe, adding across there the negatives, or your Dorito man. Darn it. Negatives, negatives, and a positive. All right, go to the second video.